Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday, February 22nd. I got the date right this time. I'm in a good mood, and I'll tell you why. It's not because the market closed. Well, kind of mixed. I went to I had to renew my driver's license here in New York, and one of the worst experiences, I'm sure all of you can agree with me on this, is going to any kind of bureaucratic government agency and the DMV. You know, that would rank right up there at the top. And I'm in New York City and Manhattan, and I was sure it was going to be like the worst experience. But they had this one location called the Driver's License Express, and it was just about like renewing your driver's license, and even so I was very skeptical, and I looked on Yelp, you know, this review site, and they were saying, well, you better make a reservation, even though for this particular location it wasn't required. But I actually went through the process of making a reservation on dmv.gov, New York City, you know, New York State, which it wasn't even an easy thing to do, just to navigate through that site. I made a reservation and everything, and I went today. And it was so fast and so painless that I'll tell you something. When I had my picture, and I got one of those real, you know, driver's license where in 2025, like the TSA is you're either gonna have to show the real license or a passport to travel domestically, which is fucking bullshit. I'm sorry, but anyway, I got that. But when the guy took my picture, and then when I brought that over to the girl who was processing my application or my renewal, she's like, "Oh, you look good," and I'm like, "Cause I was smiling the whole time because the whole experience was so painless. It was unbelievable." Anyway, that's what happened. So today, a couple of things before I get into, let me get into the fiscal situation a little bit, and then I want to talk about something a little bit more esoteric, okay? It might take me some time. Fiscal flows, man, I just was taking a look, you know, and I know that in March and April, we're going to have those tax drains. Right now, the deficit for February is like $202 billion. That's very good. Remember, what is a deficit? You guys know a deficit equates to the increase in the financial balances of the non-government. So if the deficit of the government is $202 billion, the non-government, that's us, the whole rest of the world, just got added an additional $202 billion. But we know that's going to be drained out in March and April, but that's temporary, and then we bounce back. But here's the thing that really, if you think about it, is the more important consideration, and that's the fact that the leading spending flows, right? Because you got to fill up the swimming pool first before you can drain it out. So it's that flow coming out of the pipe. I know I talk about the deficit a lot in these tax drains, and maybe when I do that, I maybe confuse you or lead you astray, but it's really about the flow coming out of that pipe. And that's like 28 billion a day, which comes to like 560 billion a month. Now, let me just give you some perspective on this, because I think perspective is very, very important, regardless of, you know, whether we're talking about economics or the market or anything else. I think perspective is very important. 560 billion a month. In the Trump presidency, like in 2018, 2019, the monthly flow, leading flow, was like 390 billion a month, and we had this huge bull market. I mean, we're up like 40%, more than 40%, like 43% over that, the leading flow. So the spigot, the flow coming out of that pipe I mean, that is up substantially. So you might say, well, Mike, well, okay, fine. Well, why is the market struggling so much? Because we're in this environment, mental environment, psychological environment of monetary psychosis, monetarism psychosis, where like everything is about Fed policy and rate increases, and I've gone on and on and on about this for so long. I don't have to keep telling you guys, because I mean, this is a psychosis. This is a mental illness. This is like a one-dimensional paradigm that has been somehow just completely infused into the psyche of the financial community without any other types of understanding. MMT has tried, and I have to say that I think some of the MMT people who I like personally, like Warren Mosler, but I think they've kind of failed in their mission. I don't think they're very, you could talk about Stephanie Kelton, and she wrote the book, but I don't think they've been able to communicate, or they're not very charismatic. I don't know what it is, and I'm certainly not. I mean, I tried a long time ago. I'm not even on TV anymore, but I digress. So I think that the problem here is not about the fiscal situation, which is actually fantastic. I mean, if you look at the flow coming out of the pipe, if you're looking at, the level of deficits we're running, which again, deficits, it's such a bad word. That right there is a bad word because it has a negative connotation. When people hear the word deficit, they think, oh, it's a detraction. It's something, needy. It's a subtraction. It's like, no, it's an addition. But people don't understand this. But it has not been communicated correctly. I don't think it's gonna ever be, because people, and again, I did this trip out into the middle of nowhere, and when you get out into the middle of nowhere, people are like, we don't want Washington, we don't want our help. I was hanging out with people when I did that survival course, like they can literally live in the wilderness in any condition on their own without any help. So you can understand it. And I think there's a lot of America, not who live in kind of a survival, off the grid situation, but they're not in big metropolitan cities that have all the comforts and everything like that and the conveniences. And they're like, fuck Washington, we don't need it. And by the way, just personally, I agree with a lot of that. So don't attack me, all right? I'm a Second Amendment guy, like, I believe in our freedoms and liberties, but I also understand that we live in a society, and that's just a reality of human beings. Like, we are social creatures, and we live in societies for a number of reasons, one of which is like, common protection. And so I don't want to get into that whole discussion on philosophy or anything like that, or philosophical systems, or political systems. Anyway, the fiscal situation is really, really good. So like when I look at what's going on now, even when I consider that, okay, we're going into March, there's going to be a tax strain, we're going into April, we know these tax strains are temporary. Okay, we know these tax strains are temporary. I mean, I tell you every year, not just, hey, I think this is going to happen. I give you the dates, the exact dates. But here's the thing, on balance, because like I'm a big picture guy, maybe you're like more trading oriented, and that's fine. I'm not attacking you or criticizing you for that. Like, why? If I did, I'd be a hypocrite, because, I spent many, many years as a floor trader on 4 different futures exchanges. So I was the most short-term trader that you can imagine. But I'm not anymore. My portfolio, by the way, before these last couple of days of correction, my portfolio was at an all-time record high because I was buying through the whole entire dip in 2022. And I might have said yesterday, I don't remember, I might have said that I wish I had more free investable cash yesterday when the market was down like 700-800 points. It was ridiculous, but I didn't. So anyway, whatever. But now I want to move on to another subject because it's a little bit personal for me. I'm not going to get into the personal aspect. I don't think this is the venue for it. But I want to talk about, I've been watching a lot of videos about Buddhism. And it's not just like a recent thing. It's an interest that I've had for a while, Eastern philosophies. And I want to talk about the impermanence of life. Like, impermanence is a reality. Like the grandest impermanence or the most, hard-hitting, realistic impermanence is that eventually our lives end. So no matter what you accumulate or who you know or what your condition is or your relationships, your bank account, your possessions, you go. At the end, it's all temporary. You separate from that. You can't take it with you. And we don't know what's beyond that. If there's anything, maybe there's not, all right? But we know that at some point you go. And I think what we do as investors, especially I've coached a lot of people, we get so caught up in the short term and we build up these anxieties in these short-term fluctuations that are so meaningless to the bigger picture. First of all, the big picture is like at the end, you just go, okay? I mean, you can't take it with you, okay? To quote, a saying that has been repeated many times. I don't take any, it's not like I made that up. But the point is that it's really important to have perspective. And I think perspective is that, there's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times. And that's why I've always tried to teach you guys like the basic fundamental analytical technique or perspective you should have, and that's either with me or without me. I don't think it's very hard to do on your own, is the swimming pool. Is it filling up or is it going down? I mean, let's forget about the long-term picture right now, which is like we're all dead and it doesn't matter what happens. Let's talk about us as investors. Is it filling up or is it draining down? And if it's draining down, is that just like a temporary drain down because it's seasonal, because it's April 15th or March 15th or, December 15th or whatever? And if so, is that such a thing to get all panicked over? And also the understanding that this psychotic, deranged fixation on monetary policy, it's based on a total and complete lack of understanding of what that is. Think about it. I mean, you have these really high paid Wall Street analysts. We're talking they're making millions a year. To come up with these forecasts and these analytical just kind of discussions of what is going to happen because the Fed does this or the Fed does that, not even understanding that all that is a price change and a fiscal adjustment. And if you understand that, there's absolutely zero reason to get concerned, no matter what that is. You adjust. It's like, okay, it's going to rain today. I'm going to take an umbrella. It's going to be 95 degrees today. I'm going to dress lightly. Like, everybody knows that. But when it comes to this stuff, it is like, oh my God, it's the end of the world, or this or that. It is such, I mean, a hyper, unnecessary emotional reaction that it's hard for me to even impress upon you what it is, what it's all about. And the thing I want you to remember is that, getting back to this kind of Buddhist concept, everything, and this is a great teaching of Buddhism, is that the concept of impermanence. Like, nothing lasts forever. There's going to be down times which are going to feel horrible, and it's okay to feel that feeling, man. Oh, fuck, look at my portfolio, shit. I've had that. I've said that many times, and I've been in this business for over 40 years. Like, oh my God, what the fuck? And I get pissed off sometimes, and I almost go into a rage because I'm saying, like, what are people doing? They're just like going crazy. And then there's the good times when I'm saying, oh, this is fantastic, and I'm so smart, and look at what I did. But I know that's going to pull back again. It's all impermanence, and it's about your reaction to that. Your reaction to that should be contrary to what probably your reaction is. But we don't think about it like that. We just let our emotions run away with ourselves. And that is what defeats us. It's like so many philosophers, especially the Stoics, Epictetus and Seneca and all those, they're like, you can't control the universe. You can't control the future. Everybody tries, right? But you can control your reaction to things. But I will say, honestly, from a personal perspective, like, when people say that to me or when I hear that, my reaction is, it's easier said than done. But that's frankly a negative reaction on my part. I should not. I just do that to I don't know why. Like, take that advice. It's good advice. Your reaction to things is the only thing you can control. And there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. But in the big picture, is the swimming pool filling up? Or is it being drained down permanently? And even if it's being drained down permanently, like you look at countries like Japan or China that are net exporters and they run budget surpluses. Well, Japan, not really anymore, but let's just say, is there a flow coming from somewhere else? Is the swimming pool getting filled up? Maybe not by the Japanese government, but by foreigners buying their goods. Folks, the swimming pool analogy, and I take nobody invented this other than me. The swimming pool analogy is the ultimate analogy that there is. And if there's anything that I have taught you, anything in these, I don't know how many thousands of videos I have made. And I think a lot of you are catching on to this. It's all about the swimming pool. Okay? Anyway, remember, impermanence is a fact of the universe. It's a fact of our lives for sure. Things are going to be good. Things are going to be bad. The only thing you have control over is your reaction to it. And I know that's, it's easy to say, and I'm the first guy, I'll be the first guy, I'm honest, that it's hard for me. I'm an emotional person. It's hard for me. But understanding this gives me, it's like a liberating thing. It gives me a lot of freedom. Okay, and I'm just, at my age, I'm almost tearing up right now. At my age, I'm only beginning to understand this. I love all of you. Peace.